Hello, everyone, and welcome to the CFA Master Track webinar, Kickstart Your CFA Journey. I'm Neva, and I'm thrilled to be hosting this session today. We have an amazing turnout, 83 participants from across the globe, including the USA, Europe, and Asia, making this a truly international webinar. First, a quick introduction to Crawl EduTech, your trusted learning partner for finance and CFA exam. At Crawl, we specialize in structured, expert-led online learning, and our CFA Master Track program is designed to simplify your CFA Level 1 preparation through live online classes, study plans, and expert mentorship. So what's in store for you today? A step-by-step strategy to ace CFA Level 1, insights into balancing work, study, and revision effectively, a proven CFA study plan from June to November, exclusive access to mock exams, doubt clearing sessions, and revision classes, a look at how CFA Master Track can accelerate your CFA success. Now, don't forget to download your free CFA study planner at www.crawl.org, your ultimate guide to cracking CFA Level 1. Now it's time to introduce our expert for today, the man who needs no introduction in the CFA space. Meet Anand, better known as Andy in the industry. Andy is the lead expert for CFA Master Track for CFA Level 1, bringing over 20 years of corporate finance experience. He's worked with top consulting firms like Deloitte and PwC, and now serves as a partner at Valsy Alliance Partners, where he focuses on mid-market investments, M&A, and project finance across sectors. His expertise and insights will provide you with a solid foundation for your CFA journey. So, without further ado, over to you, Andy.
Thank you, Neva, for opening the webinar and giving a wonderful introduction. And thank you and welcome to all the participants. I think we have received a wonderful response. And majority of the participants in this session happen to be students who are at CFA Level 1 stage, and that was the objective of this webinar. So the core agenda of this session is largely to understand, while most of you have already made up your mind to undertake the CFA Level 1 and take the CFA program, but it would be a good thing to really understand what values really CFA requires and the kind of value it brings to you when you opt for a career in finance along with a qualification like CFA Charter Holder. We are going to look at CFA Level 1 exam structure and value, and we'll spend some time on the most important aspect of the whole thought process that we have for today's webinar is how to build a winning CFA study plan. We'll also talk about Crawl EduTech's CFA Master Track, which focuses on CFA Level 1 and the kind of structured program that it offers to anyone who is aspiring to be a CFA. Next, we'll look at resources and a few of the steps which we could do, and then we'll take up a few of the questions from the participants. So I spoke about the CFA, understanding its value. There is no doubt in mentioning that CFA, when it comes to the curriculum that is there and the designation and the value that it can add to somebody potentially evaluating this as one of the qualifications in a learning program, it's a gold standard in the investment and finance industry. When we really look at what exactly is going to happen when you take a program like this, we are talking about comparing CFA and other finance certifications. And there are three certifications which we are going to compare. One is the CFA versus MBA, CFA versus FRM, and CFA versus CPA. And if we compare all these three, we look at parameters in terms of the cost of undertaking and the value that these qualifications could bring in. When you look at CFA and MBA, both are two, while individualistic qualifications in a program in terms of the structure that they offer, but the fundamental difference lies in the level of depth that these courses bring in. MBA is a course which has a much more broader spectrum to it, whereas CFA has a lot of depth to the whole thing when it looks into investment and the financial services industry. So MBA provides a broad business education, And CFA is more deeply entrenched in terms of bringing conceptual clarities and its application in the workplace. So for roles like asset management or in research and financial analysis, CFA is something which is more in vogue, and it brings a lot better conceptual clarity to be able to deliver at the workplaces. We look at CFA versus FRM now. CFA and FRM, the fundamental difference lies in only the risk perspective, which is a niche on which FRM is all built on. But most of the students who take FRM would have necessarily previously taken CFA also. But CFA is more of a holistic investment and financial analysis perspective, whereas FRM is more leaning towards risk management. And finally, we look at CFA versus CPA. Now, CPA is fundamentally very much accounting focused. It is more on record and bookkeeping and compliances, whereas CFA is more investment focused, making it more relevant for financial markets. Now, we are going to look at the CFA Level 1 exam structure and the challenges. We're going to talk about, there are 10 essential topics which CFA Level 1 exam covers. We have ethical and professional standards, we have quantitative methods, economics, financial reporting, FRA, corporate finance, equity, investment, fixed income, derivatives, alternative investments, and portfolio management and wealth planning. Now, this is quite a mouthful because when it looks at the kind of overall syllabus that is prescribed at CFA Level 1 is actually quite broad. And we're looking at almost covering 4,000 condensed pages of concepts which is prescribed at CFA Level 1. And that is one reason why most students who are taking CFA would essentially be working in the industry either as an analyst or at one of the private equity firms or similar financial services companies. Now, we will look at the common challenges that candidates face and pay attention because most of these challenges, because of these, a few of these students, they end up opting out of the program midway. And this is something which I would like to highlight because these challenges, if you are aware of it right at the beginning, at the onset of the course, it becomes much easier to pursue and take it to a closer. The vast syllabus and time management. I've been mentioning about this. You're looking at 4,000 pages just at CFA Level 1. 4,000 pages of very, very condensed concepts across 10 topics. It can be overwhelming at times. Challenging, yes, it is, but it is also exciting, especially if you are looking at pursuing your career in the financial services industry. So, what's the solution? We are looking at managing time appropriately. There's a syllabus. If you're working somewhere and you have plans to undertake the examination in the month of November 25, you need to prioritize and plan your time accordingly, starting now. Memorization versus application. Now, this is something which is very far-sighted. It's a long-term perspective. If you're looking to pursue CFA, it doesn't stop at the culmination of your exams and becoming a CFA after passing level 3. What is important is you don't need to memorize, you need to learn the application of the concepts because all of these concepts, you will be taking it to your workplace. And that is the differentiation which happens. We have come across few analysts who might have, but it's very rare, but there are analysts who would have finished the CFA, but still they fall short of, and most of these skills they are trying to pick up at the workplace. Pick these skills along with the application of the concepts while you are pursuing your CFA, and you will go a long way. Talking about financial reporting and ethics, it is one of the topics which we cover, or the 10, and FRA is something which has a lot of bearing on the entire syllabus. It's quite vast and it keeps changing because it has some form of compliances attached to it. Exam stamina and stress. The exam process overall, it could be a little overwhelming and at times it could also be challenging and it could add to stress. Then we look at mock exam preparation gap, performance gap. Now, if you're looking at mock examinations, the way they are structured is it's a lot more based on what has happened previously, and a lot of it is also leaning on anticipation. So we're looking at something, we're looking at questions, Q&As which happened in the past, so we try to draw a pattern. You could do very well in mock exam, but you might realize it doesn't translate into a real winning place at the real examination place. Now, how do you bridge that? This is something which, again, we need to be mindful of. And finally, we're looking at CFA level 1 pass rate. Now, this is something which is known in the industry to be in the range of 40 to 50%. Sometimes it is as low as 35%. But why is it so low? It's low because someone who has taken the examination has not been able to have a clear understanding of the concepts. Please understand, and this is something very positive you need to be mindful of. CFA as an examination does not have an elimination process. If somebody has answered correctly, you will end up passing the examination, and that is what is important. So there is no negative marking here. There is no chance of somebody asking you that the cutoff rate is this. Essentially, anyone and everyone who is able to score passes the examination. There is no criteria that there are just fixed number of the students who will pass. So this 45% or 40% keeps varying because there are times when students have done well, there are times when students have not done well, the examination pattern did change and things like that. And eventually we are looking at one another paper which is ethics, FRA and portfolio management. This is again from CFA level 1 perspective and also going forward in the other levels. These are three areas where there is a lot of focus on how you actually need to look into these subjects. Now, one of the core areas where you again need to focus on how to build a winning CFA study plan. So you need to take into cognizance of few of your priorities that if you, in case you are working, you're not a full-time student, but you're also working at somewhere. So you need to understand that you need to take out time from your existing already busy schedule. And you have to understand and analyze the topics which there will be areas which might attract you. There might be areas which do not attract you. Now, you have to accordingly balance your study hours so that areas which do not seem attractive to you do not get neglected. And that is why a study plan becomes very important. And active learning techniques, I spoke about the application part of it. It's not just memorizing and trying to build a memory around the whole thing and passing the examination. It is also important that you are able to learn the application part of it. The learning would be permanent, you'll be able to answer more. And that is what the institute is trying to evaluate. And leverage that time, especially if you are really working somewhere, then the available time to you at your disposal to allocate towards study hours is very limited. And that is why you need to ensure that any dead pools of time which is available to you should be committed towards study hours. So it kind of helps you. You can call it in such a way that your recreational hours are actually being allocated to study hours. Now, I've taken an example where if somebody is planning to take the November exam for CFA level 1, ideally you should start sometimes in the month of June, and you should be in a position to cover the entire syllabus in terms of concepts, learning, and topic-wise practice by the month of August. Now, we try to look at least allocating 120 to 150 hours of assisted learning in a structured program. And then September to October, you need to undergo revisions and solving full-length mock exams. And the first week of November is when you start doing revisions, and you take timed mock tests and try to work upon your weak area improvements. You might also like to take some revision classes where you study in a group and the concepts are being brushed, so it kind of refreshes your memory right before the exam. And then thereafter, you need to take rest so that you don't carry any stress into the exam window. Now, I take this opportunity to introduce Crawl EduTech CFA Master Track. Now, this is one course which we have structured it considering most of the courses available in the market, it has a bearing, it kind of leans more towards a self-paced program. And the self-paced program is something which does not inculcate a focused approach to undertaking the examination and learning the concepts and the application part of it. And this is important, and that is how the CFA Master Track by Kroll Edutech has been structured. It's a 150-hour program, and it's led by industry experts and veterans. And we look at the application so that when you learn the concepts, it kind of itches into your memory and you're able to apply it during the exams. And next part of it is have a real simulated examination thought process. So you have mock exams and doubt clearing sessions, which is again around the mock exams that we have built. And finally, the revision classes right before the exam. There's something where you kind of any doubt sessions you had, and eventually to just brush up all the concepts so that none of the concepts appear to be weak in your memory. Now from here, where do you go? Where should you start with? There is a structured study plan which we have put on www.kroll.org, which suggests all of you to go and kind of look at it and use that as a baseline to build your own program depending on the kind of study hours available at you. Evaluate taking an online live class which kind of covers the course entirely in terms of covering all the concepts in an exhaustive way. And you need to follow one of the sources to remain updated in terms of what you need to do in terms of developments which are happening in the industry. Now we're going to take up the Q&A part of it. So any questions, queries that you might have, Neva, could you guide us as to what kind of queries we have received?
Well, Andy, I will give you a quick update and also letting you know we are running short of time. Okay, we've received 17 queries via email, and I'm happy to report that all of them have been responded to. And now we've received 4 new queries via text, all asking the same important question: why is the CFA pass rate so low? It's a valid concern and one we're fully prepared to address. For a deeper dive into that, I'm handing it over to our expert. Andy, could you please take it from here?
Well, thank you, Neva. I think we are short of time, but yes, this is an important query which we receive, and for most of you, why is the CFA passing rate very low? Well, if you compare most of the examinations which are conducted and which are structured in a self-study where we're looking at CPA or FRM or any of those accounting courses globally, like CA in India or CPA in US, the idea for all of these is you got to figure out the learning part yourself. So the institute is giving you part of the curriculum, and this curriculum is getting updated as you move, and then they give you an evaluation framework. Between this, the learning part is what you need to fix yourself, and this is where most of the students they get lost. And that is what I would expect you to evaluate structured programs which can help you kind of inculcate an ability to clear the exams, and that is what is going to improve the passing rates. Unfortunately, in the industry, the students are trying to rely on sources, third parties, trying to learn the concepts themselves, and then they also lack on certain study plans, which again is key. So you need to build upon study plans. Please be mindful, these programs, the evaluation frameworks are not elimination in itself. It's a selection based on minimum cutoff. So if you are able to answer the concepts cleanly and correctly, you pass the exam. That's a very positive. So there is nothing that the institute is looking at passing a specific number of students only in a year. They will pass as many as are able to give the answers correctly. You know, so be mindful of that, and keep your eyes open to further webinars that we are going to do in this space. And if you have any query, please reach out to us on info@kroll.org, and we'll be happy to come back to you over the email or in subsequent series of webinars to give you the right set of answers. Thank you everyone for joining this webinar.